Day 1 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober challenge, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The Day 1 prompt is Wake. And here we see the Traveler waking up from a deep sleep in the middle of a city street. What you will find out about where he has woken up will be in tomorrow's post. If you want to join the challenge, join the Art Coach community and draw daily with awesome artists from around the world. Tap the link in my profile to join today. Day 2 of doing something I've never done before. I've created my first character for the Inktober challenge. His name is the Traveler. The word for day 2 is drift. And here we see the Traveler drifting through an entirely abandoned city. No one anywhere to be seen. He's still dazed from just having woken up and he's trying to figure out where the hell he is. I'll be continuing each day's prompt with the Traveler following his journey through the prompt list. Tomorrow's word is wander, so watch out for my next Inktober post. The Art Coach community has its own prompt list this year, and if you want to draw along with some awesome artists, tap through my profile and join the community. The first 30 days are a free trial and you can cancel anytime. Day 3 of doing something I've never done before. I'm creating a drawing each day that follows my Inktober prompt list. Day 3's word is wander. Here we see the Traveler wandering through an abandoned city. He turns down an alley and finds abandoned cars and overgrown plants. Still no one to be found. It's as if this place has been abandoned for decades, maybe longer. Tomorrow's word is glance. Stay tuned to see what the Traveler glances at in the next drawing. I'm going to be drawing every single day, so hit the follow button. Day 4 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Day 4's word is glance. Here you see the Traveler quickly glancing behind him into a dark entryway. He sees the subtle shape of eyes and ominous figures in the shadows. He instantly realizes in that moment that he's actually not alone. Make sure to hit the follow button. Tomorrow's word is stir. Day 5 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The Day 5 prompt is stir, and in the last drawing, the Traveler had just seen something in the shadows of a dark entryway. As soon as he saw the ominous figures in the dark, a huge wind abruptly stirred up a small cyclone of dust, dirt, rocks, leaves, and twigs around the Traveler, as if the monster in the dark was able to conjure this freak windstorm. Tomorrow's word is Glimmer. Follow to see what happens to the Traveler. Day 6 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The word today is Glimmer, and here we see the Traveler looking out to a skyrise in the distance with a single glimmering window, surrounded by completely darkened windows and rooms. Is there someone there? Maybe they can answer some of the questions the Traveler has. Hit the follow button to see what happens to the Traveler during Inktober. Day 7 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. In the last drawing, the Traveler saw a glimmering light in the window of a far-off skyscraper. The Day 7 prompt is trace, and here you see the Traveler bending over and finding the trace of footprints in the mud, and thankfully they look human. The footprints are leading directly to the building with the glimmering light. The artists in the Art Coach community are all drawing from the prompt list I've made. If you want to draw with brilliant artists from around the world, tap the link in my profile to join the community. Day 8 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's prompt is reach, and here we see the Traveler finally reaching the building he's been drawn to as seen in the last 2 drawings. What will he find here? Is he following someone or is he being led somewhere? The Traveler needs answers. Tomorrow's word is leap. Keep an eye out for my post to see what kind of leap the Traveler needs to make in the next Inktober drawing. Day 9 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The Day 9 word is a leap. After the Traveler arrived to the enormous building he was being led to in the last few posts, he finds a giant hole in the floorboards with a seemingly bottomless pit below. Even still, he must move forward. In this drawing, he's seen beginning his leap across the hole. Will he land safely? Tap the follow button to see what happens to the Traveler next during this Inktober. Day 10 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The day 10 prompt is Surge. After the traveler's daring leap across the giant hole, he turned the corner and found an electrical box. He is seen here flipping the switch, which causes an audible surge of electricity to fill the building. The light sconce right next to him shines brightly in an otherwise dark building. The next word is stumble. What could he stumble into in the next post? Follow to find out. Day 11 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The Day 11 prompt is stumble. Here we see the Traveler stumbling onto a huge clue. He's found himself in a room covered in article clippings and pictures tacked onto the wall. He picks up a newspaper and in absolute shock, he reads the day's date, January 5th, 2143. The Inktober prompt tomorrow is gaze. Hit the follow button to find out what the Traveler gazes at. Day 12 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. In the last drawing, we found out that the Traveler may have actually traveled to the future, a future where society has completely collapsed. The Day 12 prompt is gaze, and here we see the Traveler sitting down at a huge window overlooking a completely abandoned and destroyed city. What's next for the Traveler? Tomorrow's word is cross. Don't miss a post. Hit the follow button. Day 13 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's prompt is cross. The Traveler has come back to the room with thousands of newspaper clippings that he found before, and he spends hours looking through the history he's missing from his memory. It's time the Traveler and the truth cross paths. Nuclear destruction and fallout, the end of times, everyone he's ever known, gone. What's next for the Traveler? Tomorrow's word is wane. Hit the follow button to find out what's going to happen next this Inktober. Imagine learning everyone you've ever known and loved is gone. The Traveler just found out what's happened to his world. This Inktober, I've created my own prompt list and a character called the Traveler who I'm incorporating into every Inktober drawing. Today's word is wane. And here we see the Traveler sitting on thousands of newspaper clippings that has shown him exactly what's happened to the world. As he realizes what he's reading, his will to go on wanes away completely. He sits alone in a world he has no desire to be a part of. What's next for the Traveler? Tomorrow's word is flicker. Tap the follow button to see what happens. Day 15 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's word is flicker, and here we see the Traveler entering a room with a newly lit candle under a window. Is this an altar of some sort? Who was just here? Tomorrow's word is pulse. Find out what happens to him next. If you're interested in learning how to draw like this, tap through my profile and check out the drawing drills course I've created that gives you the ultimate confidence in line drawing through the practice of daily drawing exercises. Day 16 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've made my own prompt list and I'm creating a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Yesterday, the Traveler had a close encounter with whoever is still alive in this post-apocalyptic future. He had found a flickering candle still lit in an altar room. Today's word is pulse, and here we see the Traveler struck, frozen in fear. His heart pulses and adrenaline hits every cell in his body. He sees the person he's stuck in this world with, and it's not what he's expected at all. Tomorrow's word is drown. Is this the end for the Traveler? Hit the follow button to find out. Day 17 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Yesterday, the Traveler made first contact with another living being in this post-apocalyptic hellscape he's found himself in. His instant reaction of it was to run away. He runs down the hallway and falls through a trap door. Today's word is drown. The Traveler is seen here completely submerged in an underwater grave. The weight of his clothes and backpack filling with water pulls him deep under. He clutches at his throat and chest, realizing this is it. A sense of peace and calm washes over him. After all, he doesn't even know who he is or how he's traveled 140 years into the future. Tomorrow's word is sway. What will happen to the Traveler? Will he find his breath? Follow to find out. Day 18 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating to every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's word is sway, and here we see the Traveler being swayed back and forth through the underwater current. At this point, he's losing consciousness and he's just letting the water take him where it wants to. He loses all the strength in his hands and they go completely limp. Tomorrow's word is grasp. Will the Traveler grasp his way to safety? The art coach community has been doing Inktober together each day, and the art being made by the artists of the community is a daily inspiration. If you want to be part of an awesome community, tap the link in my bio to join. Day 19 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created a character called the Traveler who I'll be incorporating to every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's word is grasp, and here we see the Traveler getting a life-saving surge of energy that throws his hands up to grasp a cement ledge on the edge of the water. Somehow he's found his way out of the water and he's still alive. Tomorrow's word is tear. The art coach community is starting weekly group coaching calls on Sunday. Join the community to take part in the group critique and coaching call. I look forward to seeing you there. Day 20 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created my own character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. In the last drawing, the Traveler barely escaped an underwater grave. Today's word is tear, and here we see the Traveler with a huge tear along the side of his upper arm. It tore through his sleeve and his skin just as easily. Blood soaks down his arm and drips off his fingers. He's found himself in an entirely new and unknown place. Some kind of underground cave system where the water's current has pulled him. Find out what happens next to the Traveler. Tomorrow's word is mend. Will the Traveler mend his bleeding injury? Day 21 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created a character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's word is mend, and here we see the Traveler having wrapped a bandage around the huge gash he received in his time in the underwater current. He's mended the wound the best he can. Tomorrow's word is rise. What will happen to the Traveler? Find out in tomorrow's Inktober post. Tap the follow to see it. Day 22 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created my own character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The prompt today is rise. The Traveler is now in an underground cave system, and he's found a recently built wooden staircase that rises up through a narrow cave shaft. He treks up the stairs and rises to the top. He has an eerie feeling again that he's being watched. What will he find at the summit of this staircase? Tomorrow's word is glare. Find out what happens to the Traveler. Hit the follow button. Day 23 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created my own character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's prompt is glare, and here we see the Traveler entering a huge underground cave with a bright light glaring right in his face. It briefly blinds him, and he shields his eyes from the glare. Through the light, he can see large construction equipment, tractors, and cranes. Someone was here working on this underground cave, and they were here recently. Where did they go? Tomorrow's word is silence. Follow to find out what happens to the Traveler. Day 24 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created my own character called the Traveler, and I'll be incorporating him into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's prompt is silence, and here we see the Traveler walking through an excavation site which should be extremely loud, but has almost instantly fallen into complete silence as he approached it. He can smell the exhaust of the huge machines in the air still. The Traveler walks through the empty work area and continues on his path through the cave system. There has to be someone nearby. The next prompt is watch. Tap the follow button to see what happens this Inktober. Day 25 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created my own character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. Today's prompt is watch, and here we see the Traveler look down from a cave opening. He watches an underground city that is completely alive with activity. People interacting, buildings lit up, everything he's been looking for. Why do they live underground? Who are they? How did he find it? Has someone been guiding him here through all of the events that have happened this month? Tomorrow's word is lurk. More will be revealed as we reach the ending of Inktober. Follow to find out. Day 26 of doing something I've never tried before. For this year's Inktober, I've created my own character called the Traveler, who I'll be incorporating into every one of my Inktober drawings. The Traveler just found out for sure that he's not alone in yesterday's drawing. Today's word is lurk, and here we see the Traveler making his way toward the underground city that he had found in yesterday's post. Little does he know that a shrouded figure lurks behind him quietly, following his every move. Is this the person who's been secretly guiding him toward this underground city? Just 5 more Inktober drawings to go. Follow to find out what happens to the Traveler in the end. The story of the Traveler is nearing its end, and today the prompt is break. The Traveler is walking through the cave still alone, but he has seen a city of people and he's trying to make his way there. When finally he has a break in his alone travels. Just a few feet in front of him is a shrouded man. Before the Traveler can speak, the man says, "We are excited to finally have you here." The Traveler turns his head in confusion. What? The man continues. "I was there when you woke up. I was the footsteps you found in the mud. I pointed that light at you from the tower. I was there when you found the articles about your old world. I had you fall into the water. I knew you couldn't drown. I guided you here. It's time you meet everyone. Follow me." The Traveler's story has 4 more drawings. Follow to see what happens to him. It's day 28 of Inktober, and so far we've seen 28 drawings of the Traveler moving through the Inktober prompt list. Today's word is dodge, and here we see the Traveler completely dodge the information that the shrouded man told him in yesterday's post. He turns away and isn't sure what to do. This man knows him? Everyone's been waiting to meet him? What the hell is going on? The Traveler's thoughts race. He's considering just running away from this lunatic, but he still needs answers. The man in the background yells out, "Aren't you at least curious how you got here?" The Traveler has just a few more days left until the final drawing. Will he follow this mysterious new friend? Find out in tomorrow's post. Day 29 of doing something I've never done before for Inktober. I created a character called the Traveler who has been traveling through the prompt list each day. Today's prompt is Shatter, and the Traveler has his entire identity and sense of self completely shattered. The shrouded man has brought him to a sacred temple, and in the center, something he would have never imagined. Out of an enormous slab of stone emerges a sculpture of the Traveler. The Traveler had lost his strength from seeing this and bends down towards the ground. The shrouded man says, "You are the one who will save us, as prophecy has claimed. You are the savior that was promised. We have been waiting for you." There's 2 drawings left. Tomorrow's word is breathe. Make sure to follow to see what happens to the Traveler. The final 2 days of Inktober. Today's word is breathe, and here we see the Traveler breathing in deeply. He just found out who he is, how he has some destiny to fill in this post-apocalyptic world he woke up in. As he breathes, memories start to come back to him. He sees himself in a huge battle. He remembers fighting till a very bitter and dark end. He remembers the faces of his brothers in arms. But why is he still alive? Tomorrow's word is emerge, and it's the finale of the Traveler series for Inktober. I had a lot of fun drawing this portrait of the Traveler in closer detail. It was great practice as well because the art coach community is going to be doing a portrait swap starting November 1st. The community is going to do a portraiture challenge where we will draw each other's portraits to practice, but also as gifts. Participants will have the option to send their portraits to whoever they drew or painted. Join the art coach community to participate in the portrait swap challenge by tapping the link in my bio. The last day of Inktober is here, and with that comes the finale for the Traveler series. The final prompt is emerge. After having been explained to him by his new friends that he is some kind of chosen one destined to save their world, the shrouded man brings him into a room with a single pedestal in it. Atop of the pedestal lays a mysterious sphere. He is told to rest his hand on the orb and all of his questions will be instantly answered. Who he is, what they meant by the chosen one, he places his hand on the surface. The moment he puts his hand on the orb, he begins seeing the battlegrounds of a war. Tanks, helicopters, explosions. Then the smell comes in. Then the sound. Then he realizes it's not just a vision. He's here. He's in the battle. He knows exactly who he is. He knows that this battle is the final battle that decides the history of mankind, and his mission was to make sure that it ends up in their favor. He's been here before, many times. Perhaps thousands of times.